I love Patrice Bergeron. He's by far the best athlete I've ever covered. Class act. He's a great person. He's been a Hall of Fame player, and he will be in the Hall of Fame. And not go up rafters in Boston, but sometimes you got to move on. And I look at that series, and I was wrong, and a lot of people said it, and I said, no, he'll be fine. He was not Patrice Bergeron. He was hurting. And if he comes back, there needs to be a mutual understanding. And, knowing Bergie, he's not going to take it as an insult like some other players would.
Well, he's now got the herniated disc too, right?
But he's coming back he's no more.
No, wait, stop right there. I'm so glad that your signal froze for a second because are you telling me that Bergeron's going to play another season? Come on, he's done.
I don't know yet. I seen this book before. He looked like he was done last year too, Ed. He did the exact same thing in Carolina he did on the ice after they lost to Florida, hugging each player individually.
Yeah, but Murphy's got a herniated disc
in his
now.
eyes.
He's not coming back from that.
Well,
medically.
I don't count him out, buddy. Don't count him out.
Look, I don't want to count him out, but what is he, 192 years old? Just kidding, Patrice. That's not what I meant. It's
okay. hey.
In hockey
what does that make us?
In hockey years, shut up. Don't go there. By the way, dude, I just want to point it out once again for the record that I'm older than you and you're gray first. I don't give a shit. Stop right there. You went gray long before I did. But look, Bergeron in hockey years is about 192. And I want him back, but come on, you're right. You got to move on sooner or later,
Yeah.
And that's going
to. And I think that the other thing too that I look at that roster, and I think one of the most glaring things to me, and I know a lot of people are out there right now saying they have to sign Tyler Bertuzzi. They have to bring back Tyler Bertuzzi. You know what? If you can, you do it, but I don't see how they're going to do it. I mean, people are expecting him to get over $6 million a year, maybe on a 5-year deal. I don't know how the Bruins can afford that.
Well, but that's the point. He's a guy that you want back in the roster. You want him in the lineup because he proved his worth, but I don't know if they can afford him.
It's not going to happen. And furthermore, your focus needs to be up the middle. Because right now, if David Krejci and Patrice Bergeron leave, your top two centers are Pavel Zacha and Charlie Coyle. Now, with all due respect to Charlie Coyle, who I thought had the best year of his career, and I thought, honestly,
you better be careful, man.
Series,
he will board you.
Oh, yeah, I thought he was the best player for the Boston Bruins in that series. I really did. All around, I thought he was the best player. Those 2 games that they won in Florida, he was absolutely dominant. He was that big Eric Lindros type center that the Bruins needed. And then I don't know what happened the rest of the series. But look, Charlie Coyle is not a number 1 center. Pavel Zacha isn't a number 1 center.
Granted.
So why are people so honed in on wingers? They got enough wingers. They got Pasternak. They got wingers coming from Providence. That's not the problem. You need centers. Stanley Cup teams are built up the middle. Goalie, defense, centers. Right up the middle. Those are the teams that win. The Bruins do not have the center depth to contend for the Stanley Cup as we speak right now. That could change if Bergeron comes back. That could change if they trade. But in this moment right now, as we speak here, they do not have enough center depth to win the Stanley Cup or maybe even
then
go
I'm going to ask you a final question all this. We got to get to the lightning round then. So then taking all that into account, if you have a head coach who mismanaged down the stretch, who admits that he didn't get things right, who took a roster that was built to win a Stanley Cup with all the salary cap ramifications that now put this franchise in a hole that it might take him 2 to 3 years to come back from, with all the mistakes he made, and I don't give a shit about the regular season. I don't care, because you didn't bring a cup home as far as I'm concerned. Do you let this guy, do you give him another chance? I don't want to hear this one-season bullshit. Do you give him another chance to be the guy to lead what's going to be a rebuilt roster? I'm not so sure.
Honestly, I wouldn't, but he's going to get that chance because Jim Montgomery, to me, he knows. I don't know how else to put this. I feel like he feels like he owes management because they gave him the second chance he needed, right? And I almost feel like, you know what? Management probably, I don't think they remind him of it, but it's there. That's like that elephant in the room. And I think that he's not going to say, this is what we should have done. I feel like right now he's going to be that yes man. And so why would management get rid of that guy?
There's an even better point that you just made, Murph.
Not that guy.
Because
Bruce
now when
Cassidy's
something
first
happens
line.
in the next season, he's going to have Don Sweeney or somebody hanging over his shoulder like a vulture going, you don't want to screw it up like you did last time, you know. Remember what happened the last time you did this? He's
Yeah.
going to live with that now for the rest of his Boston Bruins career. And how effective can he be then in being a head coach that's going to lead what might be a ragtag bunch of creative players once you get past guys like McAvoy and Marchand and a few
Pasternak.
others? I'm not
Yeah.
sure he's the guy that the players will have a lot of respect for.
Well, here's the thing, and that's why I think, and I was saying this to my friend the other day. I told her, I said, look, when he gets back for camp, and he starts off training camp, he's got to come out there Herb Brooks style in Miracle and make them do sprints up and down that or something to send a message, be like, I'm the boss. Okay. And if I think you're too hurt to play, you're not playing. Wink, wink, Linus Allmark.
But
That's
he's not
that.
that
He
kind of
let the
guy, though,
players
Murph.
tell him what to do. Literally, he admitted it. He said, I will not tell a Hall of Famer that he can't go into the lineup. He said that about Bergeron. Those were
Right,
his words.
exactly. And there's one of the
Yes,
points here
you're a
because I
coach.
get
You
it that
do that.
Bergeron wanted to play in front of his dad. I know all that. He's a Hall of Famer. But at that moment, with the way Bergeron was playing and the fact that he was injured, you don't put him in the roster. You sit. Sit on your ass because I'm going to save you for the playoffs because winning a Stanley Cup is more important than winning a regular season title. And he didn't
Yeah.
do it. As a coach, you
No.
got to set that and you got to stand by it. That's what good
Yeah, and
coaches do.
how many coaches would still have their job, Ed? Right? I mean,
Who
we
cares?
agree. We
Win the
chopped off
cup.
there. I mean, this guy. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. They put this roster. But here's the thing, too, though. I'm not excusing his errors or his coaching performance, but I will say that for once and for all, can we call this roster out? I mean, can we call this this core that's been there, and that includes Patrice Bergeron, that includes Brad Marchand? They did not get the job done. They went and they got a coach fired, and they got the coach they wanted, and they had everything handed to them on a platter, and they choked. So, at what point does management say we need to blow this up? I don't like. I'm really curious to see if they have the courage to do that this summer. I love that. Like those guys I told you, Brad Marchand. I think he's a borderline Hall of Famer as well. Class act. He's become a great leader in that locker room. But I'm telling you, if I'm going into this offseason right now and Bergeron and Krejci aren't coming back and Marchand's going in on the final year of his contract and I need to shed salary, you don't think a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs or the Edmonton Oilers, who I spoke about before, that could use some grit and attitude and leadership and extra skill, you don't think they'd love a guy like Brad Marchand? And boom, you take that $6 million off the cap and you start to build up the middle with that, whether that's through free agency or whether that's through drafting. You go out, you get draft capital. It's not about, winning a cup for this core that's been there for 15 years. It's about moving on right now, and the Bruins will not succeed until they do.
It's funny. People are going to say that, well, Ed, you're only doing this on the show because you're a Boston guy. Well, first of all, I'm a Boston fan. I'm a Bruins fan. I lived in Boston for years. I loved it there. But still, this is a story because this was a team that was a record-setting franchise in the regular season that blew everybody away with their talent and with the way that they were winning. So this is a major story when you look at it. And a team like that gets torched in the first round of the playoffs by a team that barely made the playoffs, but is now the best team in the NHL, period, end of story. I mean, there's a huge story there with all this.
Yeah.
And it's true to see now what's going to happen to the franchise that set records in this season and now next season. I'm not so sure. To be honest, with the way the other teams are pulling up right now, Murph, I wouldn't be shocked if the Bruins missed the playoffs next season.